Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and of course, continuing on with the Alien review marathon. Well, I think it's obvious, and it's only fitting to, do this, because, this has to do with Alien, and, well, as I teased, in the last review video, well, yeah, because, maybe you guys saw this coming. I mean, most likely, but yeah. And, not to mention that this film is celebrating its anniversary. That's right, because, well, 20th Century Fox, after the failed results and, them trying to close off the Alien franchise, but yeah, unfortunately, Alien Resurrection was not good enough, and it didn't make up for what happened in Alien 3, and the franchise was put to rest. Well, fast forward, in the early 2000s, Fox would technically bring back the Alien franchise. However, this time, along with Alien, they would incorporate another franchise of their own and have it collab and, cross over with the Alien franchise. Another big franchise from 20th Century Fox that also has to do with an alien. And yeah, having these two well-known alien creatures from 20th Century Fox, from two of their biggest franchises, come together, going into combat, and this being a versus movie. That's right, from 2004, I am finally reviewing Alien vs. Predator. Yes, Alien vs. Predator. Wow, just holy cow. Now that I finally have seen Alien vs. Predator, and now that I'm doing my review, I'll be completely honest. Very honest, as I always am with movies. Reviewing them, of course. I didn't think it was that bad. I'm not joking. I never joke when I review movies. I'm being serious. I didn't think it was that bad. I understand, of course, that, yeah, sadly, it's not the best. And it's really not as great as, say, as another versus movie. I mean, technically, yeah, the other one didn't do that great. I'll mention it in just a moment, but yeah. Even the Rotten Tomatoes score of Alien vs. Predator, 22%. That really shows you how bad it turned out. And not to mention that Alien vs. Predator, the film being directed by the same guy who brought us Event Horizon and Mortal Kombat and Monster Hunter, Paul W.S. Anderson. I'm sure you guys would know him, and, well, the movies that I just mentioned that he also directed. Yeah. I mean, I think it was really cool to see these two alien creatures come together, and not to mention because before this movie came out and before it existed, a lot of people have been wanting to see them go into combat on the big screen for years. Ever since Predator 2, at the end of it, there's an Easter egg, and it was just an Easter egg. It really wasn't like a tease for what 20th Century Fox will be doing, no, because there was a skull of a xenomorph that appeared in Predator 2, just for an Easter egg. And I think, yeah, before Predator 2, because, yeah, there were comics, and there were video games with the Alien and Predator going into combat and such. So before the movie existed, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, again, if I'm correct, before Predator 2, that stuff with Alien versus Predator, they had already existed. So, yeah. But, around the early 2000s, 20th Century Fox, they decided to do an actual movie where the Xenomorph and the Predator do come face-to-face with one another and go into combat. And especially this is after the success of Freddy vs. Jason. Yeah, so Freddy vs. Jason being a good example. Freddy vs. Jason, which is another versus movie that I've already reviewed, if you want to go check that out. I mean, Freddy vs. Jason, yeah, it wasn't good either, so it's a shame that some of these versus movies, like Freddy vs. Jason and Alien vs. Predator, they turn out to be big flops. But anyways, but overall, I didn't think Alien vs. Predator was god-awful. I quite enjoyed it and where it was going, and with the action and such, and having, you know, the two most popular alien creatures from Fox come together. Yeah. Okay, so enough said. As always, read the description / the story. When the wealthy and ambitious Charles Bishop funds an expedition to Antarctica, he hopes to find a mysterious source of heat that has been detected. Led by a tough guide, Alexa Woods, Weyland and his team uncover a pyramid, but they also find malevolent parasitic aliens, if I said that right, making matters worse. Other extraterrestrial species, known as predators, arrive to hunt the other aliens, while the humans, caught in the middle of the conflict. Okay, so, getting into the film itself, I would like to point this out first off, because the timeline of this movie, and yeah, I'll go ahead and say it, I don't see the Alien vs. Predator films being canon to Alien and Predator. Besides, like, from what I can tell, and with the first Alien vs. Predator film, it's its own universe and such. Like, you know, like, I guess you could say, like, you know, we can say that this is an alternate universe where, you know, you just have both alien species, the xenomorphs and the predators, you know, together and such, you know. So, yeah, there's just no way that it would be canon to either one franchise or both, you know. And just with the confusion and such, and not to mention whom Mr. Weyland is, and well, I just said his full name, reading the description / the story, and only one cast member from one of those franchises, and that being Alien, returning for this. But until I mention him, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, so again, you know, Weyland has assembled a team to go to a certain location in the Arctica and Antarctica and such, because apparently, yeah, underground, there is this hidden pyramid and so on. And with our cast of characters, well, we have Alexa Woods, being played by Sana Lathan, if I'm saying her full name right, I don't know. And there's also Sebastian DeRosa, if I'm getting that right, being played by Rolu Bova, if I'm getting his name right. Again, you know me sometimes. And there's also Charles Bishop Weyland, and whom plays Charles Bishop Weyland? Well, the middle name, Bishop. I think it's obvious, yeah. Lance Hendrickson, yep. He returns in something Alien-related, but also with Alien, Predator. Yeah, so he plays Charles Bishop Weyland. So technically this is the first time we see Mr. Weyland, the man behind his company. We get to see him on screen. I mean, it's like, well, in Alien 3, because we got to see Lance Hendrickson again, not just as Bishop, whom was in Aliens, but would appear again in Alien 3, but also he played another character, which being, you know, the man who made the android to look like him and such. And even if he was Mr. Weyland, I mean, I don't think, no, his other character in Alien 3, whom appears at the very end of the film, they don't say his name. He doesn't say his name, but, I mean, anyways, figure that out. So, there's also, Graeme Miller, I'll just call him Miller, being played by Ewan Bremer. I think I might have gotten that right. There's also Maxwell Stafford. Yeah, Maxwell Stafford being played by Colin Sailman. There's Mark Veriden, if I'm getting it right, being played by Tommy Flanagan. I think I might have gotten the last name right. There's also Joe Connors, being played by Joseph Rye. There's Adele Rasuo, I don't know if I'm getting her last name right, but Adele, being played by Agathe de la Bule. I hope I'm getting that right. And there's Rustin Quinn, being played by Karsten Norgard. I hope I got that right. And there's Thomas Parks, being played by Sam Troughton, and Stone, being played by Petri Jekyll, if I'm getting that right. Yeah. So yeah, the big main characters of this film, and those whom join in this expedition, they are brought in by Mr. Weyland, thanks to Maxwell. And honestly, I think the characters, the human characters that is, they're not bad, but it's unfortunate that most of them, except for one, I think we all know who it would be. That would be the last human survivor, the last surviving human of this movie, I should say. It's unfortunate because, again, it's unfortunate that most of them, except for one, get killed, because we get to know them quite a bit, and knowing what they're like, their personalities, and, well, one of them, being a dad, and that being Miller, because I think, he states that he has 2 boys, and, you know, he takes pictures at times, and he hopes to get back to his 2 boys, and I think his wife is mentioned, I'm pretty sure, but yeah. Also, Alexa Woods, she's a pretty good, mountain climber, because climbing the, you know, snowy mountains and such, and her dad was like that too, but unfortunately it's mentioned later on in the film that, well, sadly she lost her dad, because an unfatal accident happened, and while they were climbing. So, anyways. So again, Charles Bishop Weyland bringing some highly expert people or something, you know, and some of them being archaeologists and so on, mainly Sebastian de Rosa. And for Alexa, well, her position to lead them and guide them. And the one rule that she has, this comes from her, they all stick together. No splitting up, no going off alone. They have to stay together, and until their mission is done, they find this hidden pyramid, and they go back to the boat. That's basically, and I don't blame her, because with something like this, and little do they all know what would come for them. Alright, anyways, so, yeah, and it's nice to see, and I was getting the sense of feeling that Charles Bishop Weyland, you know, we know what the Weyland Company is like in the Alien films, and, yeah, just a horrible company, and the fact that in, the first 3 Alien films, them just trying to get their hands on a xenomorph, and just like, they don't care the risks and such. In this, the man himself, he seems like a honest, nice guy, and trustworthy, and how far they go, and when they find what it is that they're looking for, mainly Mr. Weyland himself. And to speed things up, because, you know, them on the boat, and they're making their destination, there's some good chemistry between the characters from Alexa, Sebastian, and Miller. And at first, Alexa, she wants no part of this, and she doesn't want to be the guide and the leader of this expedition on searching for this underground, hidden, pyramid and so on. And there are other recommendations for whom else can be the guide. Some of them, Alexa doesn't like the sound of. But, again, when she is interacting with some of the members of this expedition team going to Antarctica, and even when she, because they were going to let her go, because, they were going to fuel up a helicopter, and she would make her way back home. But right when the helicopter was ready to transport her back home, she had a change of heart and, changed her mind, basically. And, she's going to do this. So, and this, I think, it took some convincing, and the more she got to know some of the members, knowing what they're like, and not really bad people, and whom is a part of this expedition team. Yeah. So Alexa giving the orders to everybody, and as I said, nobody splits up. Nobody is going to go off on their own, and etc. They're all going to stick together on what it is that they're going to be doing. And when they finally get to their destination, this abandoned location, this, this warehouse, whatever, yeah, because, them, sticking together, because, sometimes they do split up, but, there's not alone, because some of them have to go with one person, and so on, them just searching around, and if they can find where they can get to this, underground hidden pyramid, not to mention, because more on Sebastian, because him being, the brains, being a really skilled archaeologist person, because when we first saw him, we got our introduction of Sebastian. Well, he found a bottle cap, and he had been keeping that bottle cap throughout the rest of the film, like an archaeology souvenir, however he says it, And we did see the pyramids in Egypt early on in the film, and when we got our appearance and introduction of Sebastian. So even at one point, Miller, doing a stupid thing, he wanders off on his own. He's hearing some wrestling, some noise, and then him coming face to face with Alexa. But there's still some noise happening, some wrestling, and they find out and see it's a little baby penguin. Yeah. And I remember Nostalgia Critic said this when he reviewed Alien vs. Predator. Imagine if the little baby penguin was the cat of this movie. I don't know, but probably for the best that, yeah, we did not have the little baby penguin stick around throughout the rest of the film. I mean, looking at the first two Alien films, well, mainly the first one, the orange cat Jonesy, boy, was that cat lucky. Jonesy was one lucky cat surviving throughout that whole, crazy, batshit craziness that happened on Nostromo. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, and nice to see that when it came to Aliens, yeah, Jonesy was left behind, and, well, that would be the last time we see Jonesy, and for that matter, Ripley being with Jonesy. But anyways, and fun fact, because speaking of Sigourney Weaver, before Alien vs. Predator happened, Weaver, Ridley Scott, and James Cameron, all three of them expressed interest in doing something else Alien. And even James Cameron, he had written a script, which, yeah, I think because it was liked by Ridley Scott and Sigourney Weaver. Cameron had Ridley Scott in mind to direct, and I think, yeah, because Ridley Scott wanted to do something else Alien. In fact, an idea he had, telling, a backstory and such before the events of the first Alien film. But, well, eventually, 20th Century Fox, they decided to go with this. And after that, Weaver, Scott, and Cameron, all three of them decided that they were done with the Alien franchise. And even when James Cameron, he got to see Alien vs. Predator, surprisingly, he liked it. Well, that's nice to see. Maybe, if he feels the same way as I do. But anyways. So, yeah. Okay, so coming back to the film. Well, because at one point, they find this long tunnel/hole, and possibly that could be their destination on what it is they're looking for. So then they start to go down. At one point, Bishop, Wayland, he slipped, and, luckily Alexa catched Bishop. But also, as I mentioned, we find out from Alexa Woods that, sadly she lost her father, and we do notice that at one point, and even she notices this, Bishop, he's not feeling too well, and he has, I guess, an oxygen tank or something to make him feel good and so on, but yeah, he's not doing so good, and she's advising and, insisting to Mr. Wayland that he should go back to the boat, but he refuses. He's not going to miss out on this, what he had dreamed of finding. And, even by putting this exhibition team together, yeah. And with all that, you think he's just gonna just turn around and go back to the boat? No, he's not missing out on this. And, then Alexa Woods telling him about her father, and it was a sad end for her father, because her father got, very badly wounded, and even when eventually, her father didn't give up, because they climbed up to the mountain, where they were climbing, and, having a drink and so on, and because the pain was severe and how it just spread to her father's body, and sadly, her father sadly died, and Bishop's response to this, well, it's understandable, because, Bishop telling her that, do you think, telling her about, do you think he was happy about the pain, or however he says it, he made a good point to her, and Bishop going through the same thing like what happened with her father. Yeah, because, her father died doing what he loved best. And the same goes for Charles Bishop Wayland. Yeah. Also, little do Charles Bishop Wayland and the exhibition team know that in outer space, something is coming to the Antarctica location, and where this, hidden pyramid underground, being hidden and such. Well, a spaceship arriving, and, well, it's the Predators. They're on their way. They are fascinated with what the humans and, those from the Wayland Company, what they're looking for as well. Yeah. And a cool moment, when the Predator ship arrives, it passes by them quietly. Just, yeah, that cool camera shot where we look up above and, well, because the wind is blowing and the snow, and we see the ship fly by very quietly, dead silent. Yeah, that was a pretty cool shot. So, yeah, and what is it? What is it about the hidden pyramid that, well, it's understandable why it fascinates Charles Bishop Wayland, the humans, but, what does that go for the Predators? Well, we find out later on, and until I get there. So, yeah, and still, to speed things up, because, they eventually go underground, still sticking together, although there are a couple of other, Wayland guys, from the boat that are remaining up at the surface to keep watch and so on, if anything happens, and eventually they do find this hidden pyramid. And the specific name of the pyramid, it's called the Aztec City, yeah. Well, they thus proceed their way inside of the pyramid, and as, Charles Bishop Wayland says, let's make history. Yeah, because what they found, unlike anything, and with, a kind of pyramid, just, yeah. And throughout the rest of the film, because them being stuck in the pyramid at one point, because basically what happens at one point, the inside of the pyramid becomes just a complete hellhole of a rat maze and so on, best said by Miller. Yeah, because it pretty much is. A bunch of, doors closing and the walls changing positions. Yeah, and sure enough, because that happens, and even at one point, they accidentally, and little do they realize that somewhere in the pyramid, they awoken, if I'm saying that right, the alien queen from being frozen. Yeah, because she was chained up, but, because she was being awoken from, being frozen and such, yeah. And, thus, well, we know what would come next, and now that the queen alien is awake, basically, yeah, laying the eggs, and of course, what would come through those eggs? Oh boy. Also, them exploring the inside of the pyramid, and before all hell breaks loose, because, some locations and rooms they enter, like one room where it's this like sacrificing room, I guess you could say, and best way to put at it, those willingly to die, but how they willingly died, well, still, something about the pyramid and the pyramid being connected to something specifically, yeah. And also, they find this, and as Sebastian, puts at it, and what he realizes what it is, it's this Aztec calendar. And the last time it's this sarcophagus, and apparently the last time this sarcophagus was opened was in 1904 in the month of October, the 10th, and well, the date and, when this film takes place and when they're there, well, October 10th of 2004. So, yeah. And it is accidentally opened. And what they find inside, well, are some of these weapons. And, yeah, and also because this having to do with all hell breaking loose, the walls changing, some of the characters being separated. Yeah. And sure enough, because each of them, sadly, meeting their demise, and especially Miller, because at times him going on saying that, he wanted to get back to his two boys, and sadly he didn't. Even, like, Maxwell and the others, like, they took those guns, well, and obviously to defend themselves, and Alexa, she was, still going to take charge, and, still, them staying together, but again, with what happens to them, all of them getting separated, some of them being together, but yeah. And a couple of them, well, because they, some of them meeting their demise and coming face to face with those eggs, because they arise, and, well, sure enough, the facehuggers attack them. So, yeah, and the last remaining survivors that we see are Alexa Woods, Sebastian, and Charles Bishop Wayland. And to speed things up, because, yeah, the Predators, because they finally arrive to Earth, and, well, they attack the members of the Wayland Company, those standing watch, still up at the surface, and sadly they meet their demise, being killed by the Predators. And if you know the Predators, well, they have a technique of, cloaking themselves, and there are a couple of times the sounds that they make, like, two iconic sounds from Predator, that sound, and the iconic roar, yeah, and multiple times where they make the sound of a tiger, like a tiger roar and such. I thought that was pretty cool. And again, just them being cloaked and killing their victims, that's really cool. And again, because what are the Predators doing? What is their fascination with this hidden pyramid? Well, we do find out, and because I mentioned the alien queen and, well, the eggs being in the pyramid, well, did I happen to mention that the pyramid has to do something with the xenomorphs, but also the Predators? Yeah. And we do get a little backstory, and Sebastian realizes, and he describes it and tells it to Alexa Woods, why this pyramid exists and why for many years it had been underground in the Arctic, yeah. And the Predators, because the technology they have, and they can scan and see further down underground and what's going on in the pyramid, and they can track, the humans and know where they're at in parts of the pyramid, and yeah. And I assume as though, yeah, because we don't see it in the film on screen where they can track and see the xenomorphs, but I assume as though they could. So yeah, and there's only 3 Predators that come out of the ship, and they go down below. And thus they go into the pyramid, and even at times, they, not only are they going after the xenomorphs, but they'll also kill the humans, like, if anybody is in their way. And even at one point, yeah, there is an ambush that happens, the Predators attacking our main characters, and then the moment comes, and yeah, now come to this, where we do see the Predator and the Xenomorphs fighting one another. Yeah. Unfortunately, two of the Predators sadly get killed, but one still remains and, survives throughout the rest of the film. And yeah, just that sequence where the Predators, they're fighting the Xenomorphs and just one, and just like at times, up close at one another, and they sometimes roar back at one another, and even when acid from the Xenomorphs spills out, and even this does affect on the Predators, like it does wound them, and even the armor that they have on, burning their armor and so on. Yeah. And the killings, between the Predators and the Xenomorphs, awesome. And the Xenomorph, of course, using its tail to stab its victims right through the chest. It's amazing. I think it's really cool. And the fact that, we have one of the characters from those two franchises, in this case it's Bishop, Lance Hendrickson, on screen with not just the Xenomorph, but the Predator. And the fact there's one moment where Bishop tries to take on one of the Predators. It's amazing. And still, Bishop, he's still not doing too good, because of his lungs and so on, and using an oxygen tank. Again, it's just Alexa, Sebastian, and Charles being the only three survivors, and them trying to escape, because I think they've seen all that they've needed to see, and just their attempt to get out of this pyramid. And with Bishop struggling, but when one of the Predators gets close to them, Bishop tells them to just, proceed on, because he wants to, take on the Predator himself. And, the Predator, he grabs him by the neck, but with the Predator's scanners and such, he can scan and see inside of Bishop's body, and, yeah, it's obvious, because he knows that Bishop is not feeling well. And he spares him. He spares Bishop, and he just lets him go, and he just proceeds on. But Bishop, that kind of a dumb part on Bishop, but how is he supposed to know? And how is he supposed to know that, what would come next for that one Predator and helping one of the other main characters? Bishop, him saying, you're not getting away from me that easily, and just, setting off some fire on the Predator, and, the Predator is just like, excuse me, and, sadly, the Predator does kill Charles Bishop Wayland, so much for Charles Bishop Wayland because as I said, it really seemed as though he was a really great guy, and, the fact that him being the CEO of the Wayland Company, he was a great guy, and sadly, he met his demise. Okay, so now it's just Alexa and Sebastian that, being the only two survivors. But however, there is one moment where we do see Miller. He's still all right for now, but being, caught in, one of those, webs and such that the Xenomorphs have, holding their victims, so, the eggs can, hatch, and the facehuggers can latch on to the humans as hosts. So yeah, Miller, he wakes up, and, he can see that one of the eggs is about to hatch, and he can see someone's gun, and he tries to reach for it. Luckily, and when the egg hatches, and right as the facehugger is about to lunge at Miller on his face, lucky Miller, because he got the gun, and, he shot the facehugger. Although, that wasn't enough, just killing one facehugger, because all the other eggs surrounding him and the other humans, they start to hatch, open, that is, and, Miller, as much as he can, and with how many bullets are left in the gun he has, trying to shoot all of them, but sadly, that's the end of Miller and the others that will, have the facehuggers on them and meet their demise, and with those xenomorphs bursting out of their chests. But coming back to Alexa and Sebastian, because, okay, and to mention this now, because they find out the backstory and the history of this hidden pyramid and how it's linked to those two aliens, the Predators and the Xenomorphs. Basically, thousands of years ago, the Predators came to Earth, and this was, during the Egyptian days. And the Egyptian people, they worshipped the Predators and saw them as their gods. And the Predators helped them learn how to build, and thus, well, them building the pyramids and so on. And, even like, say, with the pyramids, and with one pyramid specifically, that would be hidden. Well, a couple of Egyptian people sacrificing themselves, willing to die, and thus the facehuggers lunging onto their faces, and they would be the hosts. And, of course, the Xenomorphs bursting out of their chests. But, well, things went horribly wrong, obviously, knowing the Xenomorphs, and, there was a war that happened between the Predators and the Xenomorphs, and, there was a very powerful bomb that went off to hide all of the evidence, and thus, the pyramid hiding underground in the Arctic and such. Yeah. And of course, when the Weyland Company would discover this, Charles Bishop Weyland discovering this, and thus hiring the exhibition team and so on, yeah. So there's our backstory and how this all came to be with this hidden pyramid, and the fact that the Xenomorphs and the Predators were on Earth before. And they soon realized that, you know what? The enemy of my enemy is my friend, that whole thing. And, it's referring to the Predators. Well, the Predators going against the Xenomorphs, so it'd be wise to, form an alliance with the Predators. And the fact there's only one remaining and surviving Predator in the pyramid. Even at one point, can't forget to mention this, there was one moment where one Xenomorph, did attack the Predator, but it was really cool. It was sneaking up on the Predator, and the Predator was, quick enough to slice part of its head, but a facehugger pops up and lunges on the Predator. And when we come back to the Predator, we can see that, well, surprisingly, he's doing okay. He managed to, defeat and kill the facehugger, but I think it's obvious what could happen to the Predator. Oh, yeah. And again, just the fighting sequences between the Predators and the Xenomorphs, just fantastic. And coming back to Alexa and Sebastian, because how far they've come, and, because there's one moment where, once again, part of the pyramid, the walls and such are moving, and Alexa slips, Sebastian holding on to Alexa. But, to make things worse, one Xenomorph pops up, and, the Xenomorph was chasing them, and then, Alexa slipping and falling off of an edge and such, and Sebastian holding on to her, but unfortunately, Sebastian gets snatched by the Xenomorph and taken away, but thankfully Alexa, she managed to, pull herself up, and at one point, she does come face-to-face with the one surviving Predator, and telling her to, stop, and, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. She's convincing and getting the Predator to trust her. And, they had one of the Predator's weapons, and, they had to return it to the Predator. And thus she did, sliding it on the floor to the Predator. And, even at one point, a Xenomorph showing up, of course, and the Predator taking on the Xenomorph, and then, the Xenomorph then going after Alexa, but she managed to kill the Xenomorph by stabbing it with a weapon that the Predator had. And, this definitely took this did convince the Predator fully because of what she just did, killing the Xenomorph. And we also saw this early on, that the Predator, gave its face covering, its mask, a bit of a marks and such, and then to itself, because, as Sebastian pointed out to Alexa, a warrior giving itself a mark after killing its victim, that whole thing, yeah. So, because of what happened, Alexa killing the xenomorph, and this convinced the Predator that, yeah, now Alexa has the Predator trusting her, thus they form an alliance, and thus they're gonna go after and take down the xenomorphs, and also attempt to blow up the pyramid. Also, by this point, the alien queen, whom awoken from, being frozen, and being in these chains, the xenomorphs, they come to the queen alien's aid, freeing her from the chains, burning off the chains with their acid, and yeah, she breaks free. And to speed things up still, because, Alexa and the Predator, they do find Sebastian, and he seems to do all right, but not really, because sadly, he has a xenomorph inside of him, and at any point, it will burst out of his chest. And the Predator was going to put out Sebastian out of his misery, but Alexa, she told the Predator not to, and she didn't really want to kill him, but Sebastian, he told her that there's no other choice, and it's too late by this point. He has to be killed, so, she can be all right, she can be safe, and not have what's inside of him go after her. And, it now turns to Alexa, pointing the gun at Sebastian and putting him out of his misery, and thus she does so. She knows what she has to do, and even telling Sebastian that, she's sorry. And I think maybe it seemed obvious that probably there was a romantic thing going on between Alexa and Sebastian, but sadly, it didn't proceed on, because what would happen to poor Sebastian? And thus, Alexa, and, seeing as how much she loved him, she had to do what was right to save him, and by just executing him, yeah. And even when, she walked away, the xenomorph that was inside of Sebastian, the Predator can see, with his scanners, an X-ray, that is, it does burst out of Sebastian's chest, but the Predator was quick enough to grab it, and then, breaking its neck. Ooh, that was cool to see. Nice on the Predator's part. And eventually, and to go ahead and get to this, because, they do find one big room where all the eggs are, and the Predator, was going to set off a bomb. And even, I like how the Predator was describing Alexa what it is that the Predator was going to do, pointing at the device and such, and, boom, this is the sign of an explosion, and it doesn't take her that long to realize that, yeah, it's a bomb. And we get one F-bomb, because knew there had to be an F-bomb somewhere in this film, knowing Alien and the Predator franchises usually having the F-bomb, so, most of the time, but anyways. But seeing as how Alien vs. Predator is PG-13, in some PG-13 films, sometimes, we would hear the F-bomb just once. PG-13 films getting away with just one use of the F-bomb. Yeah. So the Predator's setting off the bomb, and it'll be detonated, and thus they run out of there, and, because what happens next is, the explosion goes off. The bomb is set off, a huge explosion happens, them, desperately running out of there, and, just the blast wave and such, and, it was really cool, and with the effects. And I think, even before the bomb went off, because when they made it outside of the pyramid, they came face to face with another xenomorph, and, Alexa once again helping the Predator and killing the xenomorph, and even saying and quoting a little bit of what Arnold Schwarzenegger's character said in the first Predator film, "You ugly mother," and she didn't even finish it, and when she killed it, that was amazing. Oh, and speaking of Arnold Schwarzenegger, fun fact, he actually expressed interest in making a cameo in Alien vs. Predator. Yeah, this is no joke. He actually did, and that was nice to see and hear from good old Arnie. And the thing was that he was down to make a cameo if he did not win for governor, because we all know that he became governor and such, and which, yeah, ultimately he did win. So unfortunately and sadly, he was not able to participate and make a cameo in this movie. But, still nice to see that he was willing to make a cameo in this, but how? Like, I take a good guess, like, maybe if his cameo did happen, and if it was in the movie, I'd say more than likely it would be for the end of the film, because... yeah, and when we get there, because, yeah, coming back to the film, because, well, yeah, again, the explosion going off, and it was a big one, but thankfully, Alexa and the one Predator survived, and, well, it seems like all ends well for, the last two survivors, being in the pyramid. And the Predator at one point, gives Alexa the markings of a warrior, just using acid from the dead xenomorph, and putting a little bit of it on her face. The symbols of a warrior, the markings of a warrior. Excuse me, that whole thing. And after that, well, even because we do finally see the face of the Predator when, the Predator took off its mask and even, letting out the roar. But anyways, well, their troubles are not done quite yet, because out pops the Queen Alien from the ice, and yeah, the Queen Alien surprisingly survived from the huge explosion from the pyramid, and now the Queen Alien going after and trying to kill the Predator and Alexa, and them taking on the Queen Alien one at a time, and eventually they find a way to defeat the Queen Alien by tying up the Queen Alien, I think by her tail, to this water tank and such, and to basically have it go down the freezing cold water. Yeah, the water tank going down, and well, with it, the Queen Alien. They successfully do so, even still the Queen Alien trying to kill Alexa. Even the Queen Alien did severely wound the Predator, but the Predator's still alive, and how much strength it has left, and helping Alexa defeat the Queen Alien, and again, they successfully do so. The Queen Alien meets her demise going down the freezing cold water and, eventually drowning. So yeah, that's it for the Queen Alien. And just like in Aliens, the Queen Alien being the final xenomorph that our main characters take on, that whole thing. That's nice to see that what Alien versus Predator did. And sadly, the one remaining surviving Predator, sadly, well, collapses and dies, even giving Alexa a staff. Basically this thing that was brought up earlier about, a staff with the head of a xenomorph, that whole thing, pretty cool. And then we see more Predators showing up, uncloaking themselves, and, the Predator ship, I think it's still the same Predator ship, because only 3 Predators, as I said, they landed on the surface, well, because a pod had launched, and thus, yeah, the 3 Predators making their way to the location, finding the hidden pyramid. So yeah, the Predator ship has arrived, and, the other Predators there, and the main, I assume, main leader of the Predators, because, he looks like, royalty and such, and with a staff and so on. Well, they retrieve the last of the 3 Predators that completed the mission, blowing up the pyramid. Yeah, they retrieve the Predator's body, and the main leader of the Predators turning to Alexa, and you think at first that, well, is the main Predator leader going to kill Alexa? No, because he gives her his staff, I'm pretty sure, yeah. Because they can see that, well, she technically has become a warrior too, and, you know, helping the last Predator that completed the mission, and yeah, nice to see. And yeah, and because I mentioned Arnold Schwarzenegger's, like, you know, him making a cameo, and how I think it would have turned out, well, after the Predators thanked Alexa, and, well, they went back in their ship and Alexa walked off, maybe, possibly, if Arnold had made his cameo reprising his role as Dutch from the first Predator film, I think he would probably be there to, you know, come face to face with Alexa, pick her up / retrieve her, you know, and after, because the Predators, they went back in their ship and they took off. You know where I'm going with this. Yeah, I think that's what would have most likely happened. Again, if Arnold had made his cameo reprising his role as Dutch, yeah, that would have been pretty awesome. But yeah, and after the Predators, you know, they take off and are back into space, and, well, they lay the Predator's body, and, well, they walk off. You know, the camera getting up close to the Predator's body. It's a bit quiet, but then something is bursting out of the Predator's chest, and I'm pretty sure anybody who had seen and watched Alien vs. Predator, and because very early on a facehugger had got on that Predator, yeah, more than likely it was bound to happen, and thus it does. A xenomorph pops out of the Predator's chest, and apparently this xenomorph is not just a xenomorph, but also a Predator too, like, you know, breeding a new species or something, you know, combining the Xenomorph and Predator together, like, oh my gosh. And that basically leaving off, you know, like, for a possible sequel, which we did get a sequel, of course, but that was a pretty cool way to end the film right there. Alien versus Predator. Wow, just what an interesting versus movie this is. Again, just having the Xenomorph and the Predator coming together. The story, I don't think it was that bad. The characters, the action sequences, the fighting, you know, and that especially goes for the Xenomorphs and the Predators, the visual effects, the funny moments, and yeah, there are some emotional moments as well. And the music and score, the intenseful stuff, and, you know, the surprised ending with this Xenomorph that's also a Predator. Just, yeah, that surprise ending. Yeah, just overall, Alien vs. Predator, I think, was okay. It's not the best, I understand, but I quite enjoyed it, and I'm sure there are plenty of others like me that enjoyed this too. And as I mentioned early on, James Cameron seemed to like it. Yeah, and I'm giving Alien vs. Predator, yeah, it's on my mind. I'm giving it 6 out of 10 stars. Yes, 6 out of 10 stars for Alien vs. Predator. And what about you guys? What did you think of Alien vs. Predator itself? Is there any of you that think this is okay? Did you enjoy it? Do you feel the same way as I do? And that also goes for James Cameron. Anything that was going on in this movie that you thought was pretty good? And with the intenseful stuff, the fighting sequences between Alien and the Predator, and what did you think of the surprise ending? Did you enjoy any of the characters? And yeah, just overall, what do you think of the film itself? With what I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys... with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Alien vs. Predator. More review videos are on the way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review. And of course, the Alien review marathon is still continuing. Yeah, you know what's next later tonight, because, yeah, even though Alien vs. Predator was a flop, it's interesting to see that it did get a sequel. Yeah, so, yep, stay tuned later tonight for my review of Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Take care, happy anniversary to Alien vs. Predator, and peace out.